Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to be putting together some quick and easy holiday cards, and these are some of the products that I'm going to be using today. I have these beautiful sentiments from My Favorite Things, and there's a variety of them here. You can see I love this Merry Christmas one. I like to use the terminology Merry Christmas, but there's also the Warm Holiday Wishes, and those are available separately, so they're a great price point. Also, this handwritten holiday stamp set is beautiful and has tons of different sentiments in it as well. Now, I'll also be using the Modern Christmas stamp and die set from the Essentials by Ellen line, and I do have some washi tape there from Pebbles as well. And all of the products that I'm using today are linked over at my blog, and I will have the featured products linked in the description at YouTube, so be sure to check that out. Now I'm starting out with these two holly leaves from the Modern Christmas stamp set. This is from the Essentials by Ellen line, so it's available exclusively at ellenhudson.com. And I'm stamping them on some white cardstock using some Altenew olive ink. Now I wanted to show you how I stamped these. I don't actually end up using the ones that I stamped on white cardstock, but you could definitely do it for the card project that you're creating. I stamped a bunch of them all at once, a whole half sheet full, and then I'm going to go through and I'm going to use the coordinating die to cut those out. Now, holly leaves are something that I use frequently in my holiday card making and paper crafting, so I like to do extras of these when I'm doing it anyway, and I keep the extras in with the stamp set, and that way sometimes if I'm going to create a quick card or a tag or something, I have a bunch of these holly leaves already created. Now, what I actually ended up doing is stamping these on some Easter grass cardstock in that same Altenew olive ink and die cutting those. I stamped a few first and then die cut them, and then I ended up die cutting the plain Easter grass cardstock and stamping right on top of those. So if you prefer to die cut first and then stamp, you could absolutely do that, and that's what I ended up doing for the majority of my holly leaves today. I don't really feel like they have to be spot on perfect, so that's what I did today for the majority of the holly leaves that I created. Now, while I have my die cut machine out, I'm also going to die cut this Essentials by Ellen Vellum, and I am using a small stitched rectangle from Fawn. And you can see I have a bunch of these plain Easter grass cardstock holly leaves cut out, and they're beautiful by themselves, but I'm going to go ahead and stamp that kind of almost like cheesecloth textured holly leaf on top of these, and I just love the texture that those give. They're unlike any other holly leaf that I have in my collection, and I keep reaching for the stamp set over and over again. And you can see that even though I die cut first and now I'm stamping, this is going really quickly, and these are easy to line up because one of the ends is actually longer than the other, so just pay attention to that and you should be able to stamp these very quickly and easily. Now, in addition, I'm also going to be using this sheet music, and I am going to link the source over at my blog. And what I've done is I have downloaded this from a website, and I printed 4 per sheet so that I could cut them down into A2 size card fronts. And I have a bunch of different ones here. I went searching for Oh Holy Night because that is my favorite Christmas carol, but I also have Jingle Bells, I have Deck the Halls, and Oh Christmas Tree. And right in the middle of this, my husband sent me this sweet little GIF image, moi, and I sent him my Bitmoji back. Not that you cared, but these are the kinds of things that happen when I am in my craft room. So I printed these out on some premium laser printer paper, and I used my Brother monochrome laser printer to print these. The cool thing about that is I could actually foil these if I wanted to using my Mink. Today I'm just going to use them as kind of a backdrop underneath that vellum so that you can see the carol kind of coming through that vellum. It's a very soft effect, but I think it's really cool, and I love to have these music backgrounds, especially at the holidays. It would also be fun to create a birthday card and have like happy birthday, the happy birthday song. Is it happy birthday to you? I don't know. But it would be fun to have that behind a big stamped sentiment as well. So you can see I am using my Misty to stamp this greeting here, but you don't have to do that. I'm holding the vellum in place over the top of that Christmas carol there using my Misty bar magnet, and I'm going to prep the surface using a powder tool. And then I'll ink up this large sentiment in some Versamark ink and stamp it onto my Essentials by Ellen Vellum. Now, using the MISTI has its advantages because you can restamp if you didn't get a great coverage, but you could absolutely do this with your regular large size acrylic blocks as well. The MISTI is not required for these cards today, but I have one and I love it, so I tend to reach for it over and over again. So once I have the sentiment stamped, I'm going to go ahead and coat it in some Wow Rich Pale Gold Super Fine Embossing Powder. This is the super fine grind. I'm going to gently tap off the excess, and then I'm going to heat it with a really hot heat gun. I'm going to let it heat up first because I am embossing on vellum. It can warp rather quickly, so you want to make sure your heat tool is nice and hot before you take it to that embossing powder. And you can see my finished result here. Now, I did know that I wanted some of these holly leaves, but I wasn't quite sure how I wanted them. I wanted them to kind of hang off the side, but I didn't want to cover the greeting either. So I decided to actually kind of take a craft knife and cut around the edge of these sentiments that I'm using today. It took a little extra time, but I think the finished result was worth it. If you are mass producing these and you don't want to take the time to do that, you could absolutely have it overlap. So you can see I created kind of that opening on the card front there. I'm just extending this a little bit up the tail of that Y there so that I can really tuck these behind. And then I'm going to use some foam adhesive on the back of these and kind of tuck them into that space that I created, that cut opening on the vellum. And they're going to sit behind that embossed greeting, but you're still going to be able to see them. I love the way this turned out. And like I said, if you didn't want to take the time to do this, you could absolutely just adhere them on top. So to keep them in place, I actually just flipped it over and used the foam tape to kind of adhere the vellum and the holly leaves all together there. It's kind of sandwiched between. And I'm also going to take some really small slivers of my foam adhesive and hide it behind the embossed greeting that I created on the front of the card. Now you could also hide it behind sequins. That works really well. And I actually did go back and add a couple of small pieces underneath the sequins when I finished the card off. But this will hold it in place. If you're not sure about it, you can always add some multimedia matte finish behind it to kind of really secure that into place. But I find the foam adhesive works really well. And adhesive, remember, tends to set up over time and become more permanent. So this is what that looks like when I get it adhered over that Christmas carol. And now I'm going to take this washi tape from Pebbles and I am going to adhere it along the bottom of that kind of angled greeting there. The first one I'm using is almost like a masking tape with printing. I love it. And then of course we have the red and white stripes, which reminds me of candy canes. You guys know I love my black and white stripes. I also love my candy cane stripes in the Christmas season. So I'm going to work them in somehow. And I did add kind of a polka dotted black and white strip there. And I ended up not liking that. So I pulled it right back off, and then I decided it still needed some black. I'm going to add some berries onto here. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. So a lot of times when I'm stumped, I continue on with other parts of the card, and then I will go back to that part that's stumping me. So I'm going to adhere this entire thing onto a Neenah Solar White card base. This is the 110-pound Neenah, and it's cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. Then I'm just going to line that up by placing it on the surface of my craft sheet. And I was trying to work in the black and white pattern paper, but because the red and white stripes were already there, I felt like it couldn't be a stripe, and I wanted to use those stripes. So what I did was I ended up actually pulling off that washi tape and adding just a thin strip of this black glitter cardstock. It's not gold glitter, it's black glitter. I cut it at kind of a little bit of an angle, and I trimmed it down because it had a rough edge on one part. And I just adhered that onto my card front using some tape runner adhesive. And that brought in the black that I really felt like this card needed, and it was the perfect amount of sparkle added to the front of this. Then I'm just going to take those bits of washi tape and adhere them right back on. And you may have seen me earlier, I snuck another piece of foam adhesive behind where this kind of trio of different pattern papers and washi tape are sitting on my card front on the vellum. So it's just another way to kind of hide that adhesive. I'm going to finish this card off with a few sparkling clear sequins. I'm placing them using my Marvy Yukaita jewel picker here and some multimedia matte. And when I went back and made the remainder of these cards, I did them more assembly line style. So I did all of my stamping at once, all of my die cutting at once, and all of that. So keep in mind that as you're mass producing, it may be easier to do all of everything at once. So here's a look at my completed card projects for today. I have several different Christmas carols and greetings that kind of coordinate with them. And I think this is a great card to mass produce. If you wanted to leave out the intricate cutting with the craft knife, that might make it a little bit quicker for you. But I think that this is a great card for the holidays. As always, thanks for stopping by today. I really hope you enjoyed this project. I will have links to the featured supplies in the description at YouTube, but head on over to my blog because I'll have a complete list of supplies over there, more still shots, as well as links to the source where I found this Christmas Carol music. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.